Well, hello there, Minders. Welcome back to the Mind of Watercolor. Well, I'm looking at a new product, relatively new. Actually, I've kind of touched on this product in the past. This is the Care and Dash Technolo set. Now, you may remember this. Not too long ago, I did a review of graphite and water-soluble graphite, comparing it to the tones and regular graphite pencil. And the Technolo I sampled here in this range. This set now, I now have the 6B, which I was missing in that review, and it is a bit darker. But the interesting thing about this set is these three here. This is their Technolo tinted graphite. As far as I know, these are the only three colors that they have, and I really like them. This is a Prussian blue, a dark phthalo green, and a carmine lake. And as you can see, it's a very, very subtle tint. I mean, there's very little color at all, and I really, really like that. I like drawing and painting in neutrals with slight color. Now, I put them on this page so you could see the other tinted graphite that I've used, and I've done a review on these and a portrait. If you haven't seen that, I'll link to it below if you haven't seen it. But when you compare the two, you can see that this tinted graphite here is much more colorful. You get a lot more intensity in the colors, and that's good too, although it's got some nice grays. But I was really anxious to try these out. Well, I wanted you to see the difference. I love tinted graphite. I've been anxious to do some more. I just have too many other things that I'm doing. But today I'm going to use these and this whole set, and I'm going to do some practice, some anatomy practice. Something I've been wanting to do also for a while. I just can't seem to find time to do it outside of my YouTube schedule, so you're going to watch me do it. Yeah, so I'm going to do some anatomy practice, as I mentioned, and I'm trying to do a couple of things this year. I'm trying to do more sketching and learn more about sketching with water-soluble pencils. Not just doing finished art, but the sketching, I think, has some real possibilities. I think there's some real interesting processes in which you can do some very neat and quick but expressive sketching with it, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. In addition to the fact that I like to practice on anatomy. So what I'm doing today is I'm studying the neck and shoulders area. I do a lot of practice of the head and the face, and that of course is beneficial when it comes to doing portraits. But I'm kind of behind in really studying the neck and the shoulders, and thought I would spend a little time doing that. This is an old anatomy book, and you can see here is sort of a muscle diagram. I've had this is probably the first artistic anatomy book I ever bought. It's got some drawbacks, but it's got some good stuff too. It's good for diagramming muscles and bones and stuff in a more almost scientific way. And some of that's useful because when you see those muscles and the attachment points, you start to see why, when you see a more natural drawing of muscle structure like head and shoulders, where those forms come into play. So I'm just going to start out by doing a fairly detailed neck and shoulder rendering. And I'm just using the Technolo HB pencil here. And it's water soluble, like I showed you at the beginning. This process takes a little getting used to, but it's quick. A lot of artists that practice anatomy, and this is taught a lot in fine arts schools too, will use charcoal and do like side of the pencil shading with charcoal, which is fine. I don't use charcoal very much. I want to do some work with charcoal, but what I'm thinking about with water-soluble graphite is the fact that you can tone very quickly with it, which is one of the reasons that they use charcoal. Sometimes vine charcoal, if you know what that is, or charcoal that's been sharpened to a really long point. So when you're drawing the form, you're drawing long strokes, and you can easily add shading with the side of the pencil. I think it's some of the work that can be done with charcoal is absolutely amazing, so I would like to do some. But the whole idea behind water-soluble graphite is that at least to me, the whole idea that I'm testing, is that I can do these sketches and I can quickly tone the shading in where I want it. Very similar to what you would do with charcoal or the side of a pencil. It's a little bit of an extra step, but you'll see by the end of this video, I think, that it is a very workable system. I think this first more detailed sketch sort of was just to kind of work out a process for drawing and toning, and it got a little overworked by the end, but it was valuable. All these are learning sessions for me, or practice sessions, and it doesn't matter if you're doing anatomy or flowers or still life or wildlife or whatever you're doing. I'm studying the forms. That's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to produce beautiful art. I mean, I want the sketch to look good when I'm done, but I'm studying the forms. Even down to the shading. Shading is not a performance for me. It's a study of shadow and the way the forms round out, the way the forms are shaped, and shadow is a big part of that. So that's what I'm doing here. I really enjoyed this. And you know what it is. When you want to do something for yourself, or something that you've been thinking about doing in terms of practice or developing your art, and you want to do it with the time you have left in the day, a lot of times you're too tired or too demotivated, I guess, to do it. You all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is another book that I'm using, the Gottfried Baumus Life Drawing book. And don't worry, parents, I don't get into drawing nudity on this channel. I have a lot of children that watch this channel, including my own grandchildren. So this channel will always stay PG rated, for the sake of the children. Anyway, back to this rendering. So let me know what you think about this and whether you like this kind of video. I know in a poll I took a couple years ago, most of you are interested in landscape and a few other things, but I really enjoy portraits, people, figurative drawing, and of course I love water-soluble media. So here we are. Now the rest of what I'm going to do on this page are quick studies, quick shape studies, and some of them will even be very geometric almost. Again, studying the forms. Here I'm studying more of the upper torso, the chest. The important part I'm interested in here is how proportionally the shoulders relate to the neck and the orientation of the neck coming out. So I'm trying to keep these quick. A lot of what has to do with neck orientation and how it connects to the torso involves the shoulder deltoids, the collarbone, that sort of thing. Well, what I want you to see, for anybody who sketches in any sort of way or any sort of subject, is how quickly you can take those lines, those little sketchy lines, and just add a little tone here and there to sort of round out the form in your drawing, in your sketch. And I'll be honest, this worked out even better than I expected, and I focused really hard on keeping them simple. When you study, a form, simplification to me is key. Learning how to simplify, forcing yourself to simplify your subject, but also time. The more time you can spend in multiple views and multiple poses, the better your study time. So there, and just, and I am of course skipping through what I'm doing here, but you're seeing the key points. Now I'm going to do some geometric studies of the upper torso. I'll do that, and then I'm going to go back and focus just on the neck area. These are geometric representations of the upper torso, the rib cage area, and the connecting collarbones. And where the collarbones go out to the extreme ends is sort of where the shoulders are. So yeah, water-soluble graphite erases fine until you wet it, and it doesn't erase well at all. But so you can draw with it like a regular pencil. But I love how just with a few short little strokes with the water brush, you can just add some nice toning and dimension to your sketch. And I'm just pulling tone out of the line that I sketched. I'm not doing anything special with the sketch. I'm not really shading it with the sketch. I have sort of an upward view, and this is sort of more of a downward view, and I went a little further in drawing the plane, the side plane on the rib cage. Alright, so now we're going to get into the neck, and I'm not going to get very far into drawing the head or the skull, but this right here is going to be almost like a diagram, a side diagram of the neck. So it'll again be almost geometric. Just trying to look at the neck and the muscles in various ways. But again, notice, no matter what type of subjects you like to sketch, notice how efficient I think this is in terms of you just draw. You don't have to do anything special for the toning or the water-soluble graphite. That's kind of what I wanted to test, and I was very pleased with how that process worked. This is sort of what I'm going from, this little diagram. It's just very almost flat and geometric. I am going to add a little bit of dimension, and that's where the toning comes in. I decided to use a water brush because I didn't want to have to keep dipping my brush. You could do that. You actually can get more variety in the wetness or the dryness of your brush than you can with a water brush. This is a Pentel Aquash. You can dry them out temporarily by blotting them, so you can vary the wetness some even on a water brush. Now I made that neck too long, so I'm going to draw a line there just to show myself where the shoulder should be. We're way down there too far. Now I'm going to draw from the Bridgman's book. This is a classic, just a classic. He's a much more gestural in his approach. Although he'll break down anatomy into muscles and particulars, it's very expressive and very gestural. I love Bridgman. I do recommend, if you do anatomy practice, that you study more diagrammatic forms too, but then he just shows you how, I think he shows very well, how the form flows and moves those same muscles. I'm just doing one of those sketches sort of from the back view. It was very quickly done, and here you can just see me toning to add the form and definition. I didn't quite get the back muscles of that neck right in this video. Probably going to go back with a scrubber and scrub it out a little bit and try to redo it. I didn't quite get those right, but that's what this is for. That's why you practice. I'm going to do another one from the other side. Less of an upward view and more of just a sideways view. There's an angle to the neck and the way the side neck muscles come forward, angle forward, and how the throat angles back into it. So I was kind of studying all that. Again, this is just studying one of the views out of the Bridgman book. And yes, by the way, I will list all these books below if you're interested in any of them, of course. But by this time, I'm kind of getting used to, I'm using a lifter there, sort of a bristle brush there to scrub and lift. But I'm getting used to this medium for sketching. I was really kind of excited about the possibilities. I'm going to do a lot more of this. Patrons, I will continue this session probably with some other anatomy practice and do a sketchbook peeks for you. The last two drawings I wanted to do were just quick poses. I want to say gestural, but they really weren't gestural so much as I just wanted a pose like the one on the top, you know, looking to the side, and this one's from the back with an arm raised. So much I could practice here. I mean, it's just, when you start studying anatomy, it's almost overwhelming. But you got to start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. A lot of people get frustrated with anatomy. They just think, oh, you know, I can't do it. They try to draw something and they can't do it. Well, it does take study. It takes a lot of study. Learn the proportions, learn the overall way everything fits together. It's takes time. It just takes time and it takes practice. So if you're really interested in anatomy drawing, don't get discouraged. Thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know what you think of this kind of a video, because I really would like to do more of these. Thank you so much, patrons, for making this video possible. You guys are the best. And as I said, I want to continue doing some more of this in the Sketchbook Peaks over on Patreon, so look for that. We will see everybody in the next video. Bye-bye.